The witness will state her name and profession.
Hold on just a moment. Where is the witness?
I surmise that he has been frightened by the defense's demonic-looking horns.
So I used a little hair gel will relax people. Have no fear, if any horns point in your direction, this court will cut them off.
You are sure?
I swear it on my gavel. Please, come out.
Isn't violence against hair a crime, Your Honor? Well, if you are sure it is okay.
No, the prosecution. Wait a minute. The prosecution care to explain the witness's, paraphernalia?
Yes, she is a professional, Your Honor. Those are merely the tools of her trade.
And that would be?
My name is Olga Orly. I am employed as waitress in Borscht Bowl Club restaurant.
Then why the camera?
Of course, it is my pride to serve borscht, that is naming restaurant. But I also perform, how I said, other service.
I take it one of those other services is taking the customer's pictures.
Like for example, this one.
Oh. That's the defendant.
Indeed, on the night of the murder. Man in white hat is one who has gotten kaput.
Indeed, that is the victim. Order. This is quite a piece of evidence to casually drop into our laps.
It is same way as I drop cold bowls of borscht on laps of customers, casually.
The court will casually accept this new evidence.
Olgas photo added to the court record. Sollen wir gleich drauf gucken. Da sitzt er natürlich schon direkt richtig, um so eine Flasche zu greifen. Aber das ist ja noch gar nicht der Tisch, wo er ihn angeblich verkloppt haben soll. Aber man sieht hier schon die Flaschen. Das heißt, wenn jetzt irgendwie jemand meint, das wäre One-of-a-Kind-Bottle, könnten wir sagen, das stimmt nicht. Ansonsten sehe ich jetzt noch nichts Besonderes. Wir könnten mal die Klamotten von dem vergleichen. Hier hat der Hut. Er hat auch so... Moment mal, das Ding, was er hier oben hat. Hat er nicht mehr um. Das ist doch das Ding, das Phoenix gerade um den Hals hat. Was habe ich genau... Das sehe ich doch. Da. Der Anal Plug, wie Christian meinte. Interesting. Was hat das denn zu bedeuten? Moment. Now, witness, where were you at the time of the murder? I was in room. The hideout, we call it. Excuse me, the hideout? It is room where famous gangster bad guy was arrested. It's room where murder took place. What? Your talk about the surprises is lovely. I will post my courtroom door later for you. The photos will be numbered and you will write which ones you want copy of. So there were 3 people in the room at the time of the crime. The victim, Shady Smith, Mr. Wright, and Olga Orly, our witness. And if Mr. Wright isn't the killer, that means...
Very well, witness. You will testify to the court about that night's events.
That fateful night. That night, customer asked me to deal cards for game. It was cold. Both players played with hats on. The victim, he plays the whole time with his hand on locket at his neck. Then last hand is done, but something terrible has happened. That man flew at victim and is strangling him to death. Ja, aber siehst doch, er wurde totgehauen.
Incidentally, who won the game?
Isn't obvious? The winner was the victim, Mr. Smith.
Objection!
That's ridiculous. Because Mr. Wright can't lose. Justice, maybe you can come up with a more legitimate objection. But he hadn't lost in 7 years. Take it from me, kid. It happens. I didn't lose a case my first 7 years as prosecutor, either. Incidentally, I have some evidence here. Jetzt sehen wir die Karten. Ja, aber das ist ja doch ein Kreuzass. These are the poker chips as they lay the very moment of the crime. Ja, aber hier sind die doch umgedreht. Also die drei. Oder sieht man die... das könnten auch die drei Könige sein. Die man einfach nur nicht so gut sieht wegen der Auflösung. Weil die Rückseite vom Deck wurde ja offenbar in der Grafik eher einfach als so ein Viereck dargestellt. Und das hier ist ein bisschen mehr als ein Viereck. Dann sind das wahrscheinlich, sind die doch aufgedeckt. Und das sind die drei Könige. The hand and chips on this side belong to the defendant, Mr. Wright. Okay, da weiß selbst ich noch genug, um zu wissen, dass die andere Hand besser ist. Those on the far side belonged to the victim, Mr. Smith.
Chips, you say?
I mean, yes. Imagine that poker is war. Your hand is your army, and the chips are the spoils.
I know that. After all, in my youth, I was known as the poker hand of courtroom number 3.
I think he makes poker face.
Looking at this picture, it does seem that most of the chips are on the victim's side of the table. Very well, the defense may cross-examine the witness.
Ich könnte jetzt natürlich direkt am Schluss präsent machen, aber mich würde trotzdem mal interessieren, was ihr noch so zu sagen habt. You were dealing cards. Do you do this often? I am doing this. If customer wishes it, I serve anything. Borscht cards, more borscht. It is my work.
Oh, it's good to hear a place that hasn't forgotten the meaning of service.
Welcome you to Borscht Bowl Club, where borscht is as warm as the waitresses. Thank you for not handing out fires during the cross-examination. It was called both players play with hats on. It's already April. How could it be cold? At the Borscht Bowl Club, we have bright and authentic rustic Russian restaurant. Outside is it city in spring, but inside it is always as cold as Mother Russia. No way am I going there. When it comes to hot borscht, cold is best seasoning, duh. The victim hit by his home, dry him with his hands on locket, huh? His locket? I believe it was good luck charm, duh. He gripped it many times as he played that night.
Yes, he must have felt as though it might carry him to the moon and the stars. Though if it were small enough to fit around his neck, it wouldn't have much lift.
The defense would like clarification. This is a locket we're talking about? I mean, a pendant with a picture in it, right? Not a rocket. Im Japanischen ist beides Roketto. Deswegen hat der Richter das vielleicht gerade durcheinander gebracht.
Of course, I knew that. It was probably a pendant shaped like a rocket. That's why she called it that.
No, a locket is a locket. It doesn't matter what shape it. It's considered bad form to poke fun at the hard of hearing in our society. Hard of hearing or hard of understanding? So what happened next? Last hand is done, but something terrible has happened. Something terrible?
The defense were afraid from Mila shouting.
Sorry. I need to seriously reconsider this vocal training thing. Now, Miss Orley, can you tell us what happened? Oh, I was so frightened. I trembled with fear. That man flew at victim and is strangling him to death. Da könnten wir doch jetzt theoretisch Autopsy Report präsentieren, weil da steht Death caused by single blow to forehead. Bam. Oh, really? Strangled, you say? That's odd. Normal customers only choke on borscht. No, I mean this report shows that the victim died of a blow to the head. Miss Orley, really now? Did you witness the crime?
Looking at the picture, it doesn't seem like he was hit. He's still wearing his hat and everything.
Yet it is a fact that he was hit, Your Honor. Here's a photo we took of the victim with his hat off during our investigation.
Well, that's quite shocking, isn't it? This head certainly was hit.
Crime photo number 2. Well, I have seen it happen. Oh, da hat er das Ding schon nicht mehr, den Anhänger. Oder die Halskette oder was auch immer. The defendant, he lunged victim his neck. Oh, was sie als Strangling interpretiert, ist wahrscheinlich das Greifen nach dem Anhänger. Oh, really, Miss Early? I think I've caught you in your own lie this time. Justice. I admire your enthusiasm, but perhaps you should think this through once more. What do you mean? I found a contradiction. There's one thing in her testimony that troubles me.
Very well. It seems we should continue the cross-examination.
Such a thing as thinking too much. This horse is dead. Let's stop beating it. There's such a thing as thinking aloud too much, too. Ach, jetzt sagt er auch immer was anderes. After the defendant tried to strangle victim, he hit him with bottle. You didn't say anything about hitting before. So sorry, I must be forgetting this, da.
Witness, you will take greater care with your testimony.
Oh, da, I'm sorry, Your Honor. And that clears up the discrepancy with the autopsy report, I believe. The defendant made to strangle his victim, then changed his mind, and chose a simpler, blunter means to do the job. Yes, that sums it up nicely. Richtig, Christian. So he strangled him, then hit him? Something's fishy about all this. Go ahead. I believe you know what it is you need to do. Right, sir. Leave it to me. There were only 3 people in the room at the time of the murder. The victim, Shady Smith, Mr. Wright, and if Mr. Wright isn't the killer, I've got you now, Arlie. Echt? Mir fällt gar nicht ein, was ich machen soll. Das hatte ich ja schon, ne? Ja. Kann ich nochmal Press machen? You didn't say anything about hitting before. Okay, sorry. Witness. Okay, wir sind noch im Tutorial Case und ich weiß schon nicht, was ich machen soll. Mal schauen. Er meinte, es wäre fishy, dass sie sagte, er strangled first and then gave up and hit him. Aber... Ah, hier kann ich speichern. Hier sieht man halt keine Strangle Marks, ne? Vielleicht kann ich das ja mal präsentieren. Vielleicht läuft es darauf hinaus, dass man irgendwas sehen müsste am Hals, wenn er erst versucht hat, ihn zu erwürgen. Oh, vielleicht auch nicht. Your Honor, what do you think about the witness's statement?
I'm not sure I follow you.
It clearly contradicts the, I thought.
You don't sound very sure, Mr. Justice. Objection overruled.
I don't think that won me any points with the judge. Ja, da stand was von Locket, aber da wüsste ich jetzt nicht, was ich präsentieren soll. Aber vielleicht das hier? Weil auf dem Foto sieht man das ja nicht mehr. Danke. Das ist genau das, was ich hier brauche mit Chat-Hilfe. Gut aufgepasst. You know, there was one curious part in her testimony, just like Mr. Gavin said. But what does it mean?
Mr. Justice, would you care to explain what it is you're thinking so intensely about?
Recall the testimony, Your Honor. The victim played with his hand on Locket at his neck, I believe she said. I hope you aren't about to raise an objection to the witness's grammar. No, but look at this photograph. Do you see a locket on the victim's neck? Well done, Justice. I'm impressed. I knew you'd be able to handle this. But what does it mean?
If we are to believe this witness's testimony as is, then the locket disappeared following the victim's death.
Lockets don't just disappear, Your Honor. It's quite simple when you think about it. If the locket is gone, someone must have taken it off, no? Taken it off? Wait, you don't mean... The defendant wasn't strangling the victim at all. He was taking off his locket. Wouldn't that explain it?
Defendant, what do you have to say to this? Say.
Yes?
I just noticed this, but... You have something hanging around your neck, don't you?
Oh, you mean this? Yes, it's a locket with a photograph inside. A photo of my daughter.
Come again? Mr. Wright, you have a daughter?
We confirmed it at the time of arrest. The picture in the locket is indeed Mr. Wright's daughter. So Mr. Wright has a locket too? Why don't I buy that? This is just a coincidence.
Well now, if the result of this poker game led to the murder, perhaps we should hear a bit more about the outcome of the game.
Further testimony won't really be necessary. It's clear the defendant lost badly.
Miss Orley, you will testify to the court about the game played between the victim and defendant.
Duh. Serious competition. The game began with 3,500 point-in chips for each man. House chips come in two sizes, small and large. The one who was winning, it was victim. For a last hand, the defendant played with all chips on table and lose. The moment loss was decided, defendant grabs bottle from table and...
Indeed, looking at this picture, it does seem to be a one-sided game.
So, as the court knows, poker was the defendant's life. Failure must have been a bitter pill to swallow.
Oh, how many times have I heard these words? I done it in a fit of anger, yet honor, your honor, and now I regret it. A common tale, but true.
And now I regret what I've done. Methinks the judge watches too many old court movies. Mr. Wright said he hasn't lost in 7 years, so this testimony must be wrong. Ich meine, must be wrong ist jetzt ein bisschen viel gesagt. Er könnte ja auch einfach irgendwann doch mal verloren haben. Okay. 3,500 point in chips for each man. Are those the usual starting points? Or any special rules used? No, not special. Usual game, usual rules.
If each man began with 3,500 points, then the total would be, exactly 7,000 points.
Please, this isn't calculus. It's not even long division. Those chips come in 2 sizes, small and large. Are the chips in this photo all the chips that were used? Duh, of course. Huh? Something's fishy with these chips. Should I press harder? Is it? Ist die Anzahl dann noch gleich? Eins, zwei, drei, vier kleiner, ein großer. 1, 2, 3, 4 kleiner, ein großer. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Sieht aus wie 9 große und 2 kleine bei ihm. Ja doch, das passt. Das kommt hin. Das sind 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 und 2 kleine. Okay. Press order. Maybe you could explain a bit about these chips? Explain? What is there to be explained? Wie er schreit.
Poker chips are poker chips. They're not fish and chips. Not a chip of the old block. Not a motorcycle crop. Not a...
Thanks. That was necessary. Now that I've pressed her, I better ask something. What are these chips worth? Are they in dollars or rubles even?
Yet, as I have been saying before, it was game, not gambling. Hard perhaps for capitalists to understand. 2 types of cheap, 100 points cheap and 1000 points cheap.
Oh, aber Mopsy hat ja gerade auch schon die Frage gestellt. Wer sagt denn... Was ist denn, wenn die Kleinen die Tausender sind? Dann der 4100 und der nur 2900. Ja, du hättest offenbar schon bei Ace Attorney 1 dabei sein müssen. It is not money, though. Justice. Sir, don't you find her comment interesting? In more ways than one, sir. I'd have it added to her testimony myself.
Well, does the defense want a witness to add to her testimony?
Wenn er das schon sagt. Yes, I do think this deserves further scrutiny. Added to the testimony. I wish I knew where I was going with this.
Very well. Witness, if you would be so kind.
Da, Your Honor. One kind of chip is worth 100 points, other kind is worth 1000. 2 kinds in all. Okay, dann erklär doch noch mal ein bisschen mehr dazu. Mr. Gavin said this testimony is important. To be honest, I have no idea why.
Mr. Justice. Mr. Justice,
Jetzt fange ich auch schon an, ihn so zu sprechen.
do the court a favor and think of what you want to say before raising your hand. We are not in kindergarten.
Sorry, I'm fine. I'd better think of something to ask. Quick. The 2 types of chips.
The?
The small ones are 100 and the big ones 1000, right? Right, of course.
Don't waste your time.
Is that all?
Yeah. Great. Mr. Gavin made me stop her, and now I'm the one who looks dumb. Oh, Justice, please try not to embarrass me like that. Huh? Who? Me? There's a clear contradiction in the information you have in your hands. What? It's a simple matter of calculation. Go on, try it. We're not in kindergarten after all. Calculation? Vielleicht präsentiere ich einfach mal das Foto. You sure it was the victim who won? Absolutely sure.
It seems our new attorney is a bit confused. A glance at the pictures enough to tell you who won. If you're not in kindergarten.
Just for safety's sake, could you explain the problem to the court?
Of course, Your Honor. In this photo, I see small chips and I see large chips. Tell me which were worth 1,000 points.
Why, the big ones, of course.
Was hat er noch gesagt? Duh. Oh, I thought so too, but then the totals don't add up.
The totals?
Ach so, weil es da hieß, es ging um maximal 7.000. Und dann können die Großen ja nicht 1.000 sein, weil dann wären wir ja schon bei hier 9.000 und da 10.000. Genau, Christian sagt es gerade auch nochmal. Da habe ich gerade gar nicht dran gedacht, aber klar. Es wurde ja extra gesagt, es geht um 7.000 und wir kommen über 7.000, wenn die Großen die Tausendern wären. Let's review what the witness told us. Each man started with 3,500 points in chips, and the combined total value of the chips was 7,000 points.
Yes, if my calculations are correct.
Du sollst gar nichts hier sagen, du hast vorhin 6.000 sagen wollen.
Let's see, 3 plus 1, carry the 5.
They are, Your Honor. Now, look at this photo that allegedly shows all the chips. If the big chips are worth 1,000 points and the small chips are worth 100, and you add them up,
how much is it?
Do it yourself. You aren't in kindergarten, are you? 10,600 points. The chips don't add up. This clearly contradicts the witness's testimony.
But why? How could this be?
Exactly, Justice. Now that you know the what, you must determine the why. Right, there's only one possible way to explain this contradiction. What? Chip count was wrong? Starting points were wrong? Nee. Die sind beide okay. Each man began the game with 3,500 points. If all the chips are indeed shown in this photograph, then there can be only one answer.
Well, what is it?
The value of the chips was the other way around.
What?
Want to know what I think? The small chips were worth 100,000 points, not the big ones.
Madness. Utter madness.
Show me that photograph of the chips again. There are 6 small chips and 10 large chips. What? That does make 7,000 points when you add them up.
Excellent work, Justice. It's almost as though you figured it out by yourself. Well, I'm just glad I was the one who said it.
Well, wait. The value of the chips may be different, but that changes nothing.
Naja, dann hätte er ja keinen Grund mehr gehabt, ihn totzuschlagen, wenn wir argumentieren wollen, dass das Verlieren der Grund für den Mord gewesen wäre.
Indeed, the victim did have the larger number of chips still.
Exactly. If the small chips are 1,000 points and the large chips are 100, let's do a little math. Add up the points for each side of the table.
The victim, Mr. Smith, had 2,900 points and the defendant had 4,100 points.
Well now, it seems that Mr. Wright was winning that night after all.
That's impossible.
My client had even less reason to kill the victim. After all, he was winning. Oh, jetzt kommt wieder die Musik. Now, Miss Orley, you must have known the true value of the chips, since you were there at the scene of the crime. Weren't you?
Order, order. It appears our defendant has lost his motive, and Mr. Wright's supposed defeat never happened. We must now ask ourselves whether we can trust the witness's test.
What?
Excuse me, what is it, Miss Orley?
Hold it.
I did not want to be saying this, but actually, you see, See what, Miss Orley? What do you see?
Do we see?
In the last hand, there was cheat. Cheat? You don't mean a trick?
Wait, or do you mean a scam?
They're all the same thing.
Yes, there was cheat in last hand. That is why game ends with chips as they are.
Great, just great. First we have lying, now cheating. Well, this case certainly has taken a turn for the interesting.
Witness, you will please testify to the court. Tell us about this cheating in the final hand.
Last hand, both men had a full house. There is 4 of each card in deck from ace to king. If you look at both men's hand, cheat is more obvious. The next moment the game becomes argument. The defendant's trick was exposed. He took a bottle in his hand. Poor Mr. Smith.
Miss Orderly, why did you not tell the court about this from the very beginning? I thought I smelled a cover up here. Well, folks, it's time to throw back the covers.
A full house is a very high-scoring hand. Not easy to make, in my experience.
And alone is enough to suspect less than scrupulous tactics. Mr. Gavin, what's a full house?
Lawyers these days, you don't know your poker.
I can't say this bodes well for your case or career.
What is this, some kind of secret court poker ring? Justice, you know the terms 1 pair, 2 pair, and 3 of a kind, yes? Yeah, no problem. 2 cards with the same number makes a pair, and 3 makes 3 of a kind. Good. Now picture a hand with 1 pair and 1 3 of a kind. That's a full house. That doesn't sound very easy to make, does it?
You can see each player's hand in this photo.
Ja, und beide haben Full Houses, stimmt. Wow, they both have full houses.
We forget there's an easy way to make a full house and go undefeated for 7 years. You cheat.
Oh scheiße, es ist ja gleich schon 11 Uhr.
The defense may cross-examine the witness.
If he did cheat in the last hand, that still leaves one important question. Mr. Wright lost that hand. Who's ever heard of a professional con man losing when they cheat? Okay, pressen wir nochmal. Last hand, both men had full house. Just how hard is it to make a full house anyway?
It is quite hard, if it is making a pair and the 3 of kind at the same time.
I guess that's right.
Very difficult to be sure. You can take my word as the poker head of courtroom number 3.
Very difficult, but it's not impossible.
Okay, full house, hard. This line of questioning, waste of time. There's 4 of each card in deck, from ace to king. 4 of each card, you say?
There is 1 spade, 1 diamond, 1 heart, and 1 club for each card. It's also key in Resident Evil. It is interesting fact that this number 4 comes from number of seasons.
Huh, you don't say.
Did you know that the cards are numbered 1 to 13? Add all the cards in the deck and you get 364 a year.
Huh, you don't say. Isn't that 1 day short?
That's why each deck has 2 jokers. They say the second joker stands for the leap year. Thus you have a perfect representation of the year, all in a deck of cards.
Huh, you don't say. We're gonna be in this courtroom for a year if it keeps going like this. What is this, poker fun facts? Card deck fun facts. If you look at both men's hands, cheat is more obvious. Wieso? How was it clear?
Well, the defendant. He played the 5th ace.
5th ace?
I still remember both hands very well. Mr. Smith hands had his 3 aces.
Schon mal gucken hier. Stimmt doch gar nicht, er hat doch 2 Aces und 3 Kings.
And Mr. Wright too.
Obviously, cheating was afoot, or perhaps I should say, a hand.
Your Honor, perhaps this can be added to the testimony without Mr. Payne's joke, please.
Very well. The witness will add this detail to her testimony, please.
Mr. Smith's hand has 3 aces. Ist ja wohl überhaupt gar nicht wahr. It appears the witness is mistaken.
Mistaken? But my name...
Look, this piece of evidence clearly contradicts what you said in your testimony.
That's the photo of Chips, is it not?
Justice, perhaps you ought to explain your point in a way that the judge can comprehend. In other words, use your finger to point out your point.
Yes, please point out the contradiction of this photo.
Kann ich die auswählen? Ich meine, es geht ja darum, dass er nicht 1, 2, 3 Asse hatte, sondern nur 2. Miss Orderly, in your testimony you made the following claim. Mr. Smith's hand has 3 aces. But as you can clearly see, the victim's hand only held 2 aces.
Well, maybe the witness was simply confused. Perhaps it was the defendant's hand that held the 3rd ace in question.
Take another look at the evidence. As you can see, the defendant also had 2 aces in his hand. Where is this 5th ace? I see cheating all right, and it's going on right here in this courtroom.
2 aces in each player's hand does make 4 aces total. Hardly proof of cheating.
Wait, please. If it's true, it is true. I've seen it. 5th ace. That was cheating, I swear to you.
That's odd. She must be lying, yet she's the most sincere I've seen her all day. You're right to trust your instincts. Mr. Gavin? Who knows what lies in store for us in the trial ahead? Your Honor, if I may, I have a suggestion.
What might that be, Mr. Gavin?
If you don't mind, perhaps we might examine the actual cards.
The cards?
Mr. Payne.
Yes?
The players' hands that night were set aside as evidence, were they not? The defense would like to request that the cards be shown to the court.
Very well, the prosecution will submit this evidence. Which will you examine? The victim's cards or the defendant's cards?
If these cards don't prove cheating was going on, nothing will. Now, which of these hands is more suspicious? Vorschlag? Victim. Okay, sagen wir mal Victim. Stimmt, it was the victim's hand that changed over the course of the witness's testimony. The defense requests time to examine Mr. Smith's cards.
Very well, Mr. Payne, if you would.
Very well.
Received evidence, victim's hand. Well, time's a wasting. Get to it, Justice. Oh. Only one of the cards has a blue back. I'm much more of a red guy myself. Blue is so not red, you know. Hinten. Ach, das meintest du mit die Farben. Du bist so gut, ey. Du bist tatsächlich, glaube ich, der geborene Ace-Attorney-Spieler hier. Ich muss dir unbedingt die anderen Let's Plays schicken. Yes, sir. Ach, jetzt wird wahrscheinlich erklärt, dass man Items untersuchen kann, aber wir als Resident Evil Profis wissen das ja schon. When examining evidence, be sure to view it from all sides and angles. Try using those keys to turn it every which way, directional keys, and B and M to zoom in and out. Oh, das geht auch, cool. That should give you a better perspective on the case. Okay, let's do this. Ja, habe ich ja schon gemacht.
Oh, what? Your Honor.
Ich meine, oder du spielst es selber. Ist natürlich auch ein geiles Erlebnis. Aber ja, die Let's Plays haben auch Spaß gemacht. Your Honor, look at this. One of the victim's cards. The back is a different color. Stimmt, du hast sie. Ja, dann weißt du ja, was du das Wochenende machen musst. Alle 3 Ace Attorney-Teile mal eben durchspielen. Ich glaube, ein Teil dauert so 20 Stunden. Also, bis nächsten Mittwoch. Hau rein.
That's impossible. But I put that card in right hand.
What was that, Miss Orley?
No, not yet. I merely said that I have ink.
Your Honor,
Mr. Gavin, yes.
tell me what is the easiest way to cheat at poker?
To cheat?
I'll tell you. One merely needs a friend, a comrade, shall we say. The dealer.
Wait, so you mean...
This witness, Miss Orley, she is the cheater. A professional, I'd wager.
Order!
Focus, Justice. Time to take advantage of her. For her mistake. Your Honor, please recall the testimony we just heard.
That's impossible. I put that card in right hand.
Ergo, Miss Olga Orley conspired to cheat, not with my client, but with the victim, Mr. Shady Smith.
Ooh.
Not only did she cheat, she cheated poorly. Therefore, it's not hard to imagine an altercation between her and the victim.
What?
Wait, you don't mean the defense isn't accusing the witness, Miss Olga Orley, are you?
Time for justice. But that's time for next week. Toll, gerade wo es abgeht. Ja, wenn es erstmal richtig abgeht, dann wird die Musik immer super. Aber es ist leider 11 Uhr. Ja, ich meine, wir können froh sein, dass wir zumindest überhaupt noch Zeit hatten. Und dann geht's nächste Woche am Mittwoch genau hier weiter, wo es gerade interessant wird. Das ist immerhin ein schöner Cliffhanger. Also dann, ich freue mich schon auf nächsten Mittwoch. Jetzt bin ich wieder voll im Ace Attorney Fieber. Das macht ja schon Spaß. Gute Nacht und bis dann.